The shuttle doors opened, and Una Park took her first step onto orbital station Vera 7. She was 22 years old, shorter than most people in the crowd, and the only human in sight. Around her, aliens of every shape and size moved through the massive arrival hall. Some had scales. Some had too many arms. Some floated in special suits filled with liquid. None of them looked at her with kindness. Why? UNA pulled her single bag over her shoulder and walked toward the registration desk. She had trained for 3 years on Earth just to qualify for this moment. She had passed tests that broke stronger candidates. She had learned for alien languages. She had memorized every regulation in the Galactic Naval Academy handbook. None of that mattered to the tall, insect-like officer standing behind the desk. Name? The officer asked without looking up. Una Park. Earth. Human. The officer's antennae twitched. She finally looked at Una, her compound eyes showing something between curiosity and disgust. The Deathworlder, yes. We received your file. She tapped something on her screen. Your quarters are in Section 9. Hazardous Species Wing. Hazardous Species Wing. Una repeated, standard procedure for Class 7 Deathworld organisms. Your atmosphere requirements are ... aggressive. Your body temperature is dangerously high. Your physical strength poses risks to other cadets. The officer handed her a small card. This is your access key. Do not enter restricted areas. Do not make physical contact with other species without permission. Do not display aggressive behavior. Una took the card. She wanted to argue. She wanted to explain that humans were not monsters. But she had promised herself she would not react. She would not give them what they expected. Thank you, she said quietly. Where is orientation? The officer pointed toward a large door at the end of the hall. Main assembly room. You are late. Una walked quickly through the crowd. She felt eyes on her from every direction. Whispers followed her like shadows. She heard words she recognized: dangerous, primitive, mistake. She kept her face calm and her steps steady. The assembly room was enormous. 300 cadets sat in curved rows facing a raised platform. Every seat was filled except for a small section in the far corner, separated from the others by a clear barrier. A sign above it read, Isolated Seating, Hazardous. Cadets, Una walked to the isolated section and sat down alone. On the platform, a tall Corvani officer stood at the center. Her carapace was dark green, decorated with medals and rank symbols. This was Instructor Melith, the Academy's senior training officer. She had commanded warships for 40 years. She had fought in 3 major conflicts. She had never lost a battle. She was also staring directly at Una. We have a special guest this year, Instructor Melith announced. Her voice echoed through the room. The Galactic Collective, in its wisdom, has decided to accept Earth's application for membership. As part of this ... experiment, we have been ordered to train their first military cadet. The room went silent. 300 alien faces turned to look at Una. Cadet Park Instructor Melith continued. Please stand. Shh. Una stood. Her heart was beating fast, but her face showed nothing. Tell me, Cadet Park. On your planet, what is the average lifespan of your species? Approximately 80 years, Instructor. 80 years. Instructor Melith let the number hang in the air. Most species in this room live for 300 years or more. Some live for 1,000. In 80 years, what could your people possibly learn that would make you valuable to a galactic military? Una paused. Every instinct told her to fight back, to defend her people, to prove herself. But she remembered her training. She remembered what Earth's diplomats had told her. They want you to fail. Do not give them a reason. I do not know, Instructor, Una said. That is why I am here. To learn. Instructor Melith's antennae twitched again. She had expected anger. She had expected the savage response that all the reports promised. Instead, she got patience. Sit down, Cadet Park. Una sat. The orientation continued for 2 more hours. Una listened carefully to every word. She memorized schedules, rules, and expectations. She noted which instructor seemed fair, and which seemed hostile. When the session ended, the other cadets filed out in groups, talking and laughing together. Yuna waited until the room was nearly empty before standing. She was almost at the door when something hit her foot. She stumbled forward, barely catching herself before falling. Behind her, a reptilian cadet with golden scales laughed loudly. "Careful, Deathworlder," the cadet said. "Your primitive reflexes might hurt someone." This was Cadet Turan. His family was one of the wealthiest in the Selthari Empire. His father owned weapons factories. His mother sat on the collective council. He had never faced a consequence in his life. Yuna turned to look at him. 20 other cadets watched, waiting to see what the dangerous human would do. She said nothing. She simply straightened her uniform, nodded politely at Turan, and walked out of the room. That night, Yuna sat alone in her quarters in the hazardous species wing. The room was small and cold. The walls were reinforced metal, designed to contain her if she became violent. There was no window. There was no decoration. There was only a bed, a desk, and a communication screen. She activated the screen and called. Home, her younger brother's face appeared after a few seconds. Doyan was 19, still a student, still living in their family's small apartment in Busan. His smile was the first warm thing Yuna had seen all day. "How is it?" he asked. "Is the station amazing? Are the aliens cool?" Yuna tried to smile. "It is ... different." Doyan's expression changed. He knew his sister. He knew when she was hiding pain. "That bad? They put me in a special section, away from everyone else. They call me hazardous." She paused. The instructor asked what humans could possibly contribute. "A cadet tried to make me fall. They are all waiting for me to fail, so do not fail. It is not that simple, Diane." "Yes, it is." Her brother leaned closer to the screen. "They think we are animals. They think we are stupid and violent and dangerous. So be smart. Be calm. Be better than every single one of them. And when they finally realize they were wrong, do not say, 'I told you so.' Just smile." Yuna laughed softly. It was the first time she had laughed since leaving Earth. "I miss you," she said. "I miss you too. Now go to sleep. You have a galaxy to prove wrong." The screen went dark. Yuna lay back on her bed and stared at the metal ceiling. Tomorrow, her first real training would begin. Tomorrow, she would face 300 cadets who wanted her gone. Tomorrow, she would start the longest fight of her life. She closed her eyes and made herself a promise. She would not break. She would not bend. She would show them exactly what a Deathworlder could do, not with violence, with patience, with strength they could not understand. The galaxy thought it knew what humans were. Yuna Park was going to teach them how wrong they were. 6 weeks passed at the academy. Yuna learned to ignore the whispers. She learned to eat alone in the corner of the dining hall. She learned to study twice as hard as everyone else because her instructors graded her twice as harshly. She ranked last in her class on the first evaluation. She ranked last on the second. But she did not quit. The other cadets avoided her like she carried a disease. Only one showed any kindness. Her name was Pella, a Vinishi with 4 arms and soft purple skin. She never spoke to Yuna directly, but sometimes she would leave extra notes outside Yuna's door. Study guides. Schedule reminders. Small acts of secret friendship. On the 7th week, Commander Veth announced the first survival simulation. Commander Veth was different from Instructor Meleth. He was older, scarred, missing one of his front legs from an old battle wound. He did not care about politics or family names. He cared only about results. When he looked at Yuna, she could not tell if he hated her or respected her. Maybe both. "The simulation will take place in Asteroid Field 7, Commander Veth explained to the assembled cadets. "You will be divided into squads of 10. Your objective is to navigate the field, neutralize enemy drones, and extract a wounded officer from a damaged station. You will face low oxygen, high radiation, and gravity shifts up to 2 times standard. 2 times standard gravity. For most species in the room, that was dangerous. For a human from Earth, it was uncomfortable, but survivable. Yuna's home planet had gravity that would crush half the cadets standing around her. Squad assignments are posted on the main board, Commander Veth continued. Report to the shuttle bay in 1 hour.
Ow!
Yuna checked the board. Her stomach dropped. She was assigned to Squad 7, under the command of Cadet Tehran. Tehran was already gathering his squad when Yuna arrived at the shuttle. His golden scales gleamed under the station lights. He looked at her with open contempt. "The Deathworlder," he said loudly. "Perfect. Stay in the back. Do not touch anything. Do not speak unless spoken to. If you cause problems, I will personally file for your removal." Yuna nodded. Understood. The shuttle launched. 10 cadets sat in silence as the asteroid field grew larger in the viewport. Yuna recognized a few faces. There was Pella, looking nervous, her 4 hands clasped together. There was a large Corvani named Dreth, who had once spat at Yuna's feet. There were others she did not know. The shuttle landed on a small asteroid near the damaged station. The squad stepped out into chaos. Debris floated everywhere. Warning lights flashed red. The gravity was already pulling hard, making every step difficult. "Move out," Tehran ordered. "Standard formation." The Deathworlder stays at the rear. They advanced toward the station. Enemy drones appeared almost immediately, small machines that fired stun blasts. Tehran's squad fought well at first. They moved as a team, covering each other, pushing forward. Yuna stayed back as ordered, watching, waiting. Then everything went wrong. The station's structure groaned. A section of ceiling collapsed without warning, sending massive chunks of metal crashing down. 4 cadets were caught beneath the falling debris. Pella screamed as a beam pinned her legs. 2 others were unconscious. A 4th was trapped under rubble, barely breathing. Tehran froze. His scales went pale. He stared at the destruction with wide eyes, unable to move, unable to think. "What do we do?" Someone shouted. "The structure is still collapsing. We need to call for help," another cadet said. "There is no way to move that debris." Yuna looked at the trapped cadets. She looked at the crumbling ceiling. She calculated the weight of the beams, the strength needed to lift them. The time before the whole structure came down, she did not wait for orders. Yuna ran forward into the collapsing zone. The gravity pulled at her like heavy chains. Her muscles screamed in protest. A piece of falling metal sliced her arm, drawing blood. She ignored it. She reached the beam pinning Pella and grabbed it with both hands. The metal was hot, burning her palms. She pulled anyway. Her arms shook. Her back strained. The beam moved an inch. Then 2. Then enough for Pella to drag herself free. "Get to safety," Yuna said through gritted teeth. Now, Pella scrambled away. Yuna dropped the beam and moved to the next cadet. This one was buried under rubble. She dug with her bare hands, tearing away rocks and metal, cutting her fingers on sharp edges. She found the cadet's arm, then shoulder, then pulled him free. Another explosion rocked the station. Part of the floor gave way. Yuna grabbed the unconscious cadet and threw him toward safer ground. The effort cost her. She felt something crack in her ribs. The pain was blinding. She kept moving. The 3rd cadet was awake but trapped, her leg twisted at a bad angle. Yuna lifted another beam, held it long enough for the cadet to crawl out, then let it crash down behind her. One more. There was one more cadet still trapped. Yuna found him under the heaviest debris. A support column had fallen across his chest. He was barely breathing. Toxic gas was leaking from a broken pipe nearby. Yuna's lungs burned with every breath. She positioned herself under the column and pushed upward with her legs and back. This was beyond human limits. This was the kind of effort that destroyed bodies. She pushed anyway. The column moved. Barely. Enough for Dreth. The Corvani, who had once spat at her, to drag the trapped cadet to safety. Yuna let go. The column crashed down. She stumbled backward, coughing blood. Her vision going dark at the edges. When the rescue teams arrived 10 minutes later, they found Yuna standing guard over the wounded cadets. She had broken ribs, a fractured arm, second-degree burns on both hands, and internal bleeding. Any other species would have died from half those injuries. She was still on her feet. The medical officer, thin Elaware, floating in a water suit, scanned her with trembling appendages. "This is impossible," he whispered. "She should be dead." "How is she standing?" Yuna looked at him through swollen eyes. "My people are hard to kill." They loaded the wounded onto shuttles. Yuna refused to lie down. She sat upright, watching through the window as the destroyed station grew smaller behind them. Tehran sat across from her. He could not meet her eyes. He had frozen when his squad needed him. The dangerous Deathworlder had saved 4 lives while he stood paralyzed with fear. When they returned to the main station, a young man was waiting at the shuttle bay. He was human, tall, with sharp eyes and a confident stance. Another Deathworlder. He walked straight to Yuna as she limped off the shuttle. "You must be Cadet Park." "I am Heron. Just transferred in." He looked at her injuries, at the blood on her uniform, at the burns on her hands. "I heard what happened. Looks like I am not the only crazy human here." Yuna tried to smile. It hurt. "Welcome to the academy." The medical team took her away. Behind her, 300 cadets watched in silence. They had seen the footage. They had watched a human do the impossible, for the first time. Some of them wondered if they had been wrong about Deathworlders. The Academy administration wondered something different. They wondered how they could make this problem go away. Yuna did not know it yet. But her fight was just beginning. 3 days after the simulation, Yuna was still in the medical bay when the guards came for her. There were 4 of them, all Corvani, all armed. They told her she was being placed on probationary suspension. They told her an investigation had been opened. They told her to come quietly. Yuna followed them, without resistance. Her ribs were still wrapped in healing bandages. Her hands were covered in regeneration gel. Every step sent pain through her body. But she walked with her head high. They took her to a small room in the administrative wing. The walls were gray. The chair was cold. A single light hung from the ceiling. It felt like a prison cell. For 2 days, no one came to explain anything. Yuna sat alone, eating bland food, staring at the walls, wondering what she had done wrong. She had saved 4 lives. She had risked everything to protect her squad. How was that a crime? On the 3rd day, Instructor Melith entered the room. Her compound eyes were unreadable. She sat across from Yuna and placed a tablet on the table between them. "There are concerns," Instructor Melith said, "about your behavior during the simulation." "I saved 4 cadets." "You ignored direct orders from your squad leader. You entered a dangerous zone without authorization. You used physical force that exceeded safety protocols." Melith tapped the tablet. "Some witnesses claim you caused the structural collapse." Yuna stared at her. "That is a lie, perhaps." "Perhaps not. The investigation will determine the truth." Melith leaned forward. "But I am here to offer you a choice. Accept responsibility for the incident. Leave the Academy quietly. In exchange, Earth's application for full membership will not be affected. You want me to take blame for something I did not do? I want you to consider the bigger picture. You are 1 cadet. Earth is 1 planet. The collective has thousands of worlds. Is your pride worth damaging your entire species?" Yuna's hands tightened on the edge of the table. The burns on her palms screamed in protest. She thought about her brother. She thought about everyone back home who was counting on her. She thought about what it would mean to walk away. She said. Meleth's antennae twitched. "No, I did not come here to be convenient. I came here to serve. I will not lie to make your problems go away." For a long moment, Meleth said nothing. Then she stood, collected her tablet, and walked to the door. "Very well. The tribunal will convene tomorrow. I hope you know what you are doing." The door closed. Yuna was alone again. That night, someone knocked softly. Yuna opened the door and found Pella standing in the hallway, her forearms wrapped around herself nervously. "I should not be here," Pella whispered. "If anyone sees me talking to you, I could be removed from the academy. Then why are you here?" Pella looked at her with large violet eyes. "Because you saved my life. Because I know what really happened. Because someone should tell the truth." She pressed a small data chip into Yuna's hand. My testimony. Everything I saw. Use it if you can. Before Yuna could thank her, Pella was gone. The next morning, the tribunal began. The hearing room was large, filled with academy officials, military representatives, and political observers. At the center sat High Arbiter Celis, an ancient Elowari who floated in a massive water tank. He had presided over tribunals for 200 years. He was known for being fair. Yuna stood alone at the defendant's podium. Across from her, Tehran's father sat with a team of expensive advocates. The Selthari noble was powerful, connected, and determined to protect his family's reputation. The prosecution spoke first. They painted Yuna as a dangerous animal who had lost control. They claimed she had caused the collapse through reckless behavior. They presented witnesses who said she had moved with predatory aggression, and the doors at the back of the room opened. Ambassador Quan Jisoo walked in like she owned the place. She was 50 years old, sharp-featured, dressed in Earth's formal diplomatic colors. Behind her came two assistants and a young man Yuna recognized. Heron. High Arbiter Ambassador Quan said, her voice cutting through the room. I am here on behalf of Earth's government to ensure this tribunal proceeds fairly. Tehran's father stood. This is a military matter. Diplomats have no authority here. On the contrary, Ambassador Quan smiled. But there was no warmth in it. When one of our citizens faces criminal charges based on lies, Earth has every right to respond. And we have evidence that these charges are, indeed, lies. She nodded at Heron. He stepped forward with a tablet and began presenting data. Maintenance records for the simulation station. Equipment logs. Manufacturing reports. Everything pointed to one conclusion. The structural collapse was caused by faulty support beams produced by a Selthari company, a company owned by Tehran's family. The room went silent. The equipment was defective, Heron explained. It had been flagged for a replacement months ago, but the work was never done. Probably because replacing it would have cost money and raised questions about quality control. Tehran's father was on his feet, shouting objections. His advocate scrambled to respond. But the evidence was clear. The data could not be denied. High Arbiter Celis raised one glowing appendage, silencing the room. I have seen enough. The charges against Cadet Park are dismissed. Her actions during the incident were heroic, not criminal. He turned his ancient eyes toward Tehran's family. The matter of equipment negligence will be referred to the appropriate authorities for further investigation. Yuna felt her legs go weak with relief. She gripped the podium to stay standing. Ambassador Quan walked over to her as the room erupted in chaos. You did well, she said quietly. Standing your ground. Refusing to take the blame, that took courage. What happens now? Now you go back to training. You work harder than ever, and you remember that Tehran's family will not forget this. The ambassador's eyes were serious. You made powerful enemies today. Watch your back. Yuna returned to her quarters that evening. Heron walked with her, filling the silence with easy conversation. She learned that he had spent weeks gathering the evidence, hacking into systems, tracking down records. He had risked his own position to help her. Why? She asked. You did not even know me. Heron shrugged. You are human. That makes you family. Besides, he grinned, someone has to show these aliens that we are not just survivors. We protect our own. That night, Yuna called her brother again. Doyan's face appeared on the screen, and for the first time in weeks, she smiled without forcing it. I heard what happened, Doyan said. The whole planet is talking about it. You are famous. I just want to finish my training. You will. And when you do, you are going to be the best officer they have ever seen. Because that is what we do. We get knocked down, and we get back up. Yuna nodded. She was tired. She was hurt. She had enemies waiting to destroy her. But she was still here. Still fighting. Still standing. The galaxy wanted her to fail. She was going to disappoint them. 6 months changed everything and nothing. Yuna climbed from last place to the top 50 cadets through pure will. She studied when others slept. She trained when others rested. She earned respect from instructors who had once dismissed her. But Tehran was still at the academy, transferred to a different program, protected by his family's remaining influence. And he had not forgotten. The fleet exercises were supposed to be a celebration. Cadets who had survived the first year were given the honor of serving on real warships for 2 weeks of live training. It was a chance to prove themselves, a chance to show they were ready for actual service. Yuna was assigned to the training vessel Axiom's Edge, along with Heron and a new human cadet named Suho Kong. Suho was an engineer from Daegu, quiet and serious, with hands that could fix anything mechanical. The 3 humans were placed together deliberately, separated from the rest of the crew. Another reminder that they were different. Dangerous, not to be trusted, Captain. Oren commanded the Axiom's Edge. He was Corvani old battle-scarred, with a reputation for fairness. He never spoke to Yuna directly, but she sometimes caught him watching her during drills. There was something in his eyes that might have been respect. Tehran was assigned to a rival vessel, Crimson Dawn. The 2 ships would be operating in the same sector, running coordinated exercises. When Yuna heard the news, she felt a cold weight settle in her stomach. The first week went smoothly. Yuna worked the bridge, learning navigation and tactical systems. Heron managed weapons arrays. Suho kept the engines running at peak efficiency. They proved themselves useful, competent, professional. Some of the alien crew members began to relax around them. On the 8th day, everything fell apart. The exercise that day was simple. Both ships would engage simulated enemy targets in an asteroid belt. Standard training, no danger, no complications. The Crimson Dawn fired first, but the weapons were not aimed at the simulated targets. They were aimed at the Axiom's Edge. The first blast hit the port side. The second struck the bridge. Consoles exploded. Officers screamed. Captain Oren was thrown across the room, unconscious before he hit the floor. What is happening? Someone shouted over the alarms. Yuna pulled herself up from the floor. Blood ran down her face from a cut on her forehead. Around her, the bridge was chaos. Half the crew was down. Systems were failing, and the Crimson Dawn was coming around for another attack. Weapons malfunction. A voice crackled over the communication system. Tehran's voice. So sorry. We are trying to correct the problem, but the weapons kept firing. Yuna understood immediately. This was not a malfunction. This was revenge. Tehran was going to destroy the Axiom's Edge and blame it on faulty equipment. Just like before. Just like always. Everyone who can move, get to your stations, Yuna ordered. Her voice cut through the panic. Heron, I need weapons online. Suho, how are the engines? Damaged but functional, Suho reported from engineering. I can give you 50% power. That is enough. Heron, weapons are down. I can get point defense working in 2 minutes. 2 minutes. They did not have 2 minutes. The Crimson Dawn was closing in. Yuna slid into the pilot's seat. Her hands moved across the controls. The ship groaned as she pushed it into motion, dodging between asteroids using the rocks as cover. They are still shooting, someone said. Why are they still shooting? Because they want us dead, Yuna thought. Because Tehran would rather kill 100 people than let me succeed. Then she saw it on the scanner. A civilian transport had drifted into the exercise zone. 200 passengers, families, children. They were directly in the Crimson Dawn's line of fire. No, Yuna whispered. She made a decision. The Axiom's Edge swung around. Engines screaming, metal groaning under the stress. Yuna pushed the damaged ship between the Crimson Dawn and the civilian transport. They were a shield now. Every shot meant for the transport would hit them instead. Open a channel, Yuna said. Broadcast on all frequencies. The communication officer, a young Venishi with shaking hands, activated the system. Channel open. Broadcasting live across collective space. Yuna spoke clearly, her voice steady despite the blood and chaos around her. This is Cadet Yuna Park of the training vessel Axiom's Edge. We are under attack by the Crimson Dawn. The attack is deliberate. If they want to destroy us, they can try. But they will have to do it in front of the entire galaxy. For a long moment, nothing happened. The Crimson Dawn hung in space, weapons charged, ready to fire. Then Tehran's face appeared on the view screen. His golden scales were pale. His eyes were wild. You think you can threaten me? You think this changes anything? You are just a Deathworlder, a primitive animal from a worthless planet. Then shoot, Yuna said. Show everyone what the great Selthari family really is. Show them that you would murder civilians just to kill one human. Tehran's hand moved toward the firing controls. A new voice cut in over the channel. Hi, Arbiter Celis. Cadet Tehran, stand down immediately. Fleet Command has been notified. Any further hostile action will be considered an act of war. The Crimson Dawn's weapons powered down. Tehran screamed something incoherent before his communication was cut. Emergency ships arrived within minutes. Medical teams swarmed the Axiom's edge. The civilian transport was escorted to safety. Yuna finally let herself collapse against the pilot's seat as medics surrounded. Ow! Captain Oren regained consciousness as they carried him off the bridge. He looked at Yuna, at the damage around them, at the status screens showing what she had done. You saved my ship, he said. I did my job. He almost smiled. I have served for 40 years. I have never seen anyone do what you just did. The news spread across collective space within hours. The footage was everywhere. A human cadet facing down a warship. A Deathworlder protecting civilians. 3 humans holding together a crippled vessel through sheer determination. Heron found Yuna in the medical bay afterward. He was bruised and burned, but grinning. Do you know what people are saying? They are calling us heroes. Actual heroes. Suho appeared behind him, his engineering uniform covered in grease and blood. More importantly, Tehran's family cannot cover this up. Half the galaxy watched it happen. Yuna looked at her hands. They were still shaking. Is it over? Not even close, Heron said. But now they have to listen. Now, they have to see us for what we really are, what they really were. Not animals. Not savages. Not dangerous monsters from a death world. Protectors, survivors, humans. Galaxy had underestimated them for the last time. The Galactic Collective Assembly Hall was the largest structure Yuna had ever seen. It stretched for kilometers, filled with representatives from 10,000 worlds. Species of every shape and size filled the curved seats, rising toward the distant ceiling. Floating platforms carried delegations through the air. Holographic displays showed translations in hundreds of languages. Yuna stood at the center of it all. She wore a clean uniform, her wounds healed, her back straight. Beside her stood Heron and Suho. Behind them sat Ambassador Quan and the Earth delegation. Across the vast chamber, Tehran sat with his family, stripped of rank, waiting for judgment. High Arbiter Celis floated in his water tank at the highest platform. His voice echoed through the hall. This assembly has been called to address the incident involving the training vessels, Axiom's Edge and Crimson Dawn. The evidence is clear. The attack was deliberate. Lives were endangered. The guilty parties have been identified. Tehran's father rose to speak. He was smaller now than Yuna remembered. Defeated. My son acted rashly. He is young. He made a mistake. We ask for mercy. A mistake? Ambassador Quan's voice cut through the chamber. Your son attempted murder. Your family tried to cover up negligence that nearly killed Academy cadets. This was not one mistake. This was a pattern of corruption protected by wealth and power. The assembly murmured. Thousands of voices discussing, debating, judging. High Arbiter Celis raised a glowing appendage for silence. The tribunal has reached its decision. Cadet Tehran is permanently barred from military service. The Tehran family is stripped of all military contracts. An investigation into their business practices will proceed under full oversight. It was not everything. They would not face prison. Their wealth would protect them from the worst consequences. But it was something. It was a start, now the High Arbiter continued. We must address the larger matter. The question of Earth. The question of humanity. The chamber fell silent. This was the real reason for the assembly. Not justice for one crime, but judgment of an entire species. Celis turned his ancient eyes toward Una, Cadet Park. You have been asked to speak on behalf of your people. The assembly will hear you. Una stepped forward. Her heart pounded against her ribs. Thousands of alien faces watched her. Some curious, some hostile, some afraid. She thought about her journey. The isolation, the hatred, the injuries. The moments when she wanted to quit, to go home, to give up. She thought about everyone who had helped her. Pella's secret kindness, Heron's loyalty, Suho's quiet strength, her brother's faith. She thought about Earth, her home, her people, everything that made them what they were. And then she spoke. You call Earth a death world. You are right. Our planet tried to kill us every day for millions of years. We evolved alongside predators that wanted to eat us. We survived diseases that wiped out entire species. We lived through ice ages and droughts and disasters that should have ended us 1,000 times. She paused, letting the words settle. But we did not just survive. We did something else. Something you did not expect. We learned to protect each other. She looked at the Corvani delegates. At the Veneti. At the Seltheri. At species she could not name. When the cave collapsed, we dug each other out. When the predators came, we stood together. When one of us fell, the rest carried them. That is what Deathworlders do. We do not fight because we enjoy destruction. We fight because we refuse to let the people beside us die alone. Her voice grew stronger. You feared us. You isolated us. You tried to make us fail. But every time you pushed us down, we got back up. Not to hurt you. Not to prove we were dangerous. Just to show you that we belong here. That we can stand beside you. That we can protect what matters. She looked directly at the High Arbiter. You can keep fearing us. You can keep pushing us away. Or you can stand with us. Either way, we are not going anywhere. We are humanity. We survived our world. We will survive your doubts. And if you let us, we will fight beside you until the end. The chamber was silent. 10,000 species held their breath. Then, slowly, the Veneti delegation rose to their feet. They began to applaud in their way, for hands moving together in rhythmic waves. The Corvani followed, then the Eloeri. Then species after species, rising, applauding, showing respect in 100 different ways. Instructor Melith stood in the academy section. Her compound eyes met Yuna's across the vast distance. She nodded once. An apology. An acknowledgement. High Arbiter Celis, let the moment continue before raising his appendage again. The Assembly recognizes Earth's contribution to galactic peace. Full membership status is hereby granted. Humanity is welcome among us. The chamber erupted. Ambassador Quan was surrounded by delegates offering congratulations. Heron and Suho were pulled into conversations with curious aliens. Somewhere in the chaos, Pella appeared and threw all four arms around Una in a tight embrace. Thank you, Pella, whispered, for everything. Hours later, the ceremony was over. Una stood at a viewing window, looking out at the stars. The station orbited a blue-green world that reminded her of home. Captain Oren appeared beside her. He was fully recovered now, his Corvani shell showing new scars from the battle. Cadet Park. Or should I say, Lieutenant Park. The commission came through an hour ago, Lieutenant. She had done it. First human officer in the Galactic Fleet. Thank you, sir. I have been assigned to a new vessel, Oren continued. The GFSS Unity. Joint Human-Alien Crew. First of its kind, he paused. I need officers I can trust. Officers who will protect the ship and everyone on it. Are you interested? Una smiled. Yes, sir. I am. The Unity launched 3 weeks later. Una sat in the command chair during the departure, watching the station grow smaller through the viewscreen. Heron was at weapons. Suho was in engineering. Pella, newly graduated from medical training, ran the medical bay. Around them, humans and aliens worked side by side. Her communication screen flickered. Doyan's face appeared, grinning from their apartment in Busan. "Lieutenant Park," he said. "Sounds official. It feels official. I told you so," Yuna laughed. "Yes, you did." The Unity reached the edge of the system. The jump drive powered up. In moments, they would be traveling faster than light, heading toward the unknown, ready to face whatever the galaxy held. "All stations. Report ready," Captain Oren commanded. One by one, the crew confirmed. "Weapons ready. Engineering ready. Medical ready. Navigation ready." Yuna looked at the stars stretching into infinity. She had come so far from that first day, standing alone in the arrival hall, surrounded by strangers who hated her. Now she was surrounded by family. Real family. The kind forged in fire and struggle and survival. "Navigation ready," she reported. "Courses set." The Unity jumped to hyperspace. Light wrapped around the ship like ribbons of silk. Behind them, the galaxy watched. Millions of species on thousands of worlds had seen a human stand before them and speak of protection, of loyalty, of strength. They had spent centuries fearing what Deathworlders could destroy. Now they were beginning to understand what Deathworlders could protect. And this was only the beginning.